Welcome to Sportsball Roundup. Now here's your hosts, Devin and Reese.
Thank you, and yes, welcome to Sportsball Roundup. I am Devin, and joining me across the table is my co-host, Reese. And so, Reese, we've got some exciting things to run through this podcast. And a quick programming note, we will not have a podcast next week. I have some prior obligations to attend to, so we will not have a podcast next week. So tune in 2 weeks, the week of Halloween, for the next podcast. So going through top stories of the week in the NFL, the Giants improved to 5-1. Who would have saw that coming? With win over Baltimore. I mean, who would have saw that the Giants would be 5-1 to start the year and win over Baltimore? Like, did you think that would happen? Like, rewind back to preseason. Did you see that happening?
I did not. This is a big surprise. Not for Giants fans though. They want this to happen.
They're enthusiastic year after year. So yeah, Giants fans, congratulations, you got one right this year.
Yeah, 5-1, and great play by Saquon and Daniel Jones, and it's all piecing together at the moment for the Giants.
Yeah, got to talk about it. I know because, I don't want to because I'm a Packers fan, but the Jets, well, they upset us. They upset the Packers to move to 4-2 and to bring the Packers down to 500 at 3-3. That was kind of an ugly game for the Packers. It really was. Couldn't get anything going on offense, and I don't know. Breece Hall has been something for the Jets, man. He's been a major component of their offense. And, I mean, good for Iowa State. They've got two big-name running backs. I mean, I guess Breece Hall is only a rookie, but I think he'll be on the level of David Montgomery, pretty quickly with the Jets organization as a major player, a major role of that offense, just like David Montgomery is for the Bears offense.
Yeah, he's definitely a big part of the Jets offense. If it's not, like I said last week or 2 weeks ago, if it's not running the ball, it's catching a screen pass.
Yep.
It's running routes if they need him to.
Yeah, I've even seen him block a couple times in pass protection, and he's been pretty good there too. So
definitely,
he's been an all-around utility back, which is what the Jets want to see in their offense.
Definitely helping out Zach Wilson or whoever is behind the offensive line that day for the Jets.
Yep. Steelers defeat the Bucks 20-18. Mitch Trubisky replaced Pickett after Pickett suffered a concussion on the field. And Steelers go on to right the ship from 2 weeks ago when they got utterly destroyed. And is this Tom Brady's last season? I know we talk about it a lot, but he's not been performing. He's been very, very underwhelming as of late, and I think that that's got to be in the back of his head. I mean, with all of his off the field issues with Giselle and the stuff going on off the field, and it might be affecting his play on the field, and so something's got to happen with him. He might have to take a little bit of time off to sort through what's going on at home. And or he might just have to retire, but I mean, he's not performing up to the standards that I think he sets on himself, and I think the NFL and the Bucks and the fan base set on him. So I think that I honestly think that this might be Tom Brady's last year in the NFL. The Bills actually win in KC. The last time they met up was in the playoffs, and Pat Mahomes did some Mahomes magic in overtime to defeat the Bills, but this time Josh Allen gets the win. What do you make of that game, Reese?
That was definitely a great game between two elite level quarterbacks and offenses.
And I think Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are kind of the new generation of quarterbacks and the faces of the franchise. Whereas, Aaron Rodgers and Brady were kind of the old school kind of way, the old quarterbacks that are kind of aging out, making way for Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to kind of steal the show once Brady and Rodgers era kind of dies down and goes away. I think that Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes will be the storyline moving forward. And I think it's great for the NFL to see that. I mean, kind of a shift, and not really a kind of a lull in action, because we still have Aaron Rodgers and Brady out there. So it'll kind of be a seamless transition into the Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes era, which I enjoy as a fan of the NFL. I enjoy watching the old come behind the new and kind of in a seamless transition way, so that we don't have that kind of those down years where we got to find the next big thing. It's already here in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So I think that it was good for football in general to watch that game, and to watch, two elite, honest, probably future Hall of Famers go at it. That was awesome to watch. Shifting gears a little bit to the MLB, briefly. Phillies advance past the Braves. The Astros sweep the best remaining storyline in Major League Baseball, which was Seattle. So, I mean, I guess the next best storyline, I always love the underdog, it's the Padres. They took out the Dodgers, and now it's the Phillies versus the Padres and the Astros versus the Yankees. And the Astros are up 2-0, and the Padres and Phillies are tied in the championship series. Personally, as a Washington Nationals fan, I want to see the Padres destroy the Phillies for two reasons. Number one is the Phillies are a division rival. And number two, they have probably Washington's number one enemy in baseball in Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper left in a blockbuster deal to go to Philadelphia and be the Phillies outfielder. And, honestly, good riddance. I mean, the year after that is the year that we won the 2019 World Series. And then ever since then, I think, Philly has been underperforming until now with, Harper. Harper's been underperforming, honestly, until now. But, I think the Padres, I want the Padres to win. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, it's tied at 1 right now, and it's kind of scary. Philly took one in San Diego, so San Diego's going to have to take one in Philly to get home field back. And, I got to take a moment, a little bit of a side rant. I think that, I think analytics has its place in major leagues, with, all the statistics and, left-handed versus right-handed and kind of the strategic stuff. But baseball's also become, I think, a little too analytical in the fact that the Dodgers had their starter out and they took him out in the 6th inning, as analytics say you should. However, he was pitching a shutout, and I think he only gave up 2 hits in 6 innings. And I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty good stat line to only give up 2 hits and in a shutout performance. And so I think the old school rules should have applied. You know, they should have taken it back, kind of had a mound visit and be like, hey, how you feeling? How's the arm? You know, kind of talk to him a little bit and see, you know, where he was at instead of just pulling him automatically because that's what analytics told you should do. You know, I guess as a high school pitcher, what is your take on, I guess, this situation and how it applies to baseball?
Well, I get where you're coming from. I agree. Totally with what you said. Sometimes it depends on the stakes of the game, how the game's going. I'm not sure how the game was going, if they had a lead or they were down. But sometimes, you know, the coaches look at those stuff and they, you know, the analytics keep all of it, you know, how you do in early innings, how you do in the middle innings, how you do in the late innings. Just anything you can imagine, analytics has it, you know. But like you said, he was pitching a shutout. He only had allowed 2 hits. But, you know, in a playoff game, there's high stakes. The more time you're out there, the more the hitters can adjust to your pitching. Because in the playoffs, most of the time, 1 or 2 runs can lose you a ball game. And some games in this postseason, we saw that, you know, some teams lost 1-0, some teams lost 2-0. So if you throw a pitch and it crosses the middle of the plate and you've been out there for quite a while, it could end up in the seats. But I do see where you're coming from with that. But it is what it is.
I honestly think they outsmarted themselves. I mean, the analytics, yeah, they said that you probably should pull your pitcher in the 6th, and that's what they followed. But they outsmarted themselves, and I think that's what lost them the ball game. To be honest, they went to their bullpen too early, and their bullpen just couldn't live up to the expectation. And so, honestly, I think that's what cost them the ball game. And now they're sitting at home with all the what ifs instead of being in the next round. So we'll have to see how that plays out moving forward in the offseason, how much analytics will play a role in those decision makings. I don't think it's going away, but I think that maybe they might take a step back and say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should kind of do conventional wisdom kind of stuff. Quickly touching on college ball, because Tennessee did something extraordinary and beat Alabama for the first time in 16 years, I think it was.
It could be.
It was a long time. If I remember correctly, it was 16 years that it had been since Tennessee beat Alabama, and they did so with high stakes. Tennessee was number 6 and Alabama was number 3 at the time, and they switched spots. So with that upset. So Tennessee becomes number 3 in the country, and Alabama slides all the way out of the playoffs into the 6th spot. Briefly, because we're in the state of Iowa, Texas beats Iowa State 24-21, and Iowa State now is last place in the division at 0-4 in conference play. Michigan beats Penn State 41-17, and Penn State still hasn't won to a top 10 team. Just think about that. In what, I don't know, I think it was the last 10 years. Michigan's played, I think, Penn State has played 4 top 10 teams in the last 10 years and has lost all 4. And so that was, that was kind of a test of their ability. They were 10 and Michigan was 4, right? Going into that game, I think Penn State was. I think Penn State was number 10 and Michigan was number 4. So that was kind of a test because they were both top 10 teams. And Michigan just routes them 41-17. Now we're moving back to the NFL in Week 6 rundown. Falcons defeat the 49ers 28-14 in a surprising game. I mean, the early slate of games was just straight chaos.
Yeah, it was.
And it was just hard. It was just hard to believe any of this. I mean, the Bengals, okay, I can see them beating the Saints, but only by 4. That's kind of ridiculous, Joe Burrow's kind of got back into form a little bit, 28 of 37 for 300 yards and 3 TDs, and one of those was a rush. So we already talked about the Giants. They rally from down 10 to beat the Ravens 24-20 and advancing to 5-1. Colts score in the final minute, beating the Jags 34-27. Seahawks win again, beating Arizona 19-9. Tied for first in the NFC West with the Rams and the 49ers. Rams beat Carolina 24-10. Panthers were held scoreless in the second half. No surprise there because, the only real weapon they have is Christian McCaffrey, who later in the week was traded to the 49ers. So now the Panthers have exactly 0 weapons to work with. And I think they're just in a rebuilding mode at this point. I mean, we kind of looked at the depth chart right before we started. And what was his name?
I believe you're referring to Chuba Hubbard.
Hubbard is now the starting running back of Carolina. I think he's a rookie, is he not? Or is he second year?
He might be second year.
Second year, but still very young quarterback, very unproven because, Christian McCaffrey. But, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Bills defeat the Chiefs 24-20. Josh Allen 27 of 40 with 327 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pat Mahomes, pretty much the same stat line, 25 of 40, 338 for 2 TDs, but the difference maker is Mahomes had 2 interceptions. And I think that, in a game where your TD interception ratio is 1 is not a good game for you. And so, Pat Mahomes, I think he just had a down game, but that one proved probably maybe to be maybe further down the road it'll have playoff implications, with if the Bills and the Chiefs kind of keep going neck and neck with each other. I think that the Bills having that head-to-head is really going to make the difference in that. The Eagles remain undefeated. The only bet I won. I took the Eagles on the money line, and that was the only bet I won. They defeat the Cowboys 26-17 and remain undefeated. Only undefeated team left, Reese.
Only undefeated team left. To me, very surprising, especially in the NFC East.
which we jokingly nicknamed for the past few years the NFC least, because they were trash for at least 4 years. They've been trash.
Yeah, now all of a sudden this year, 3 out of the 4 teams have winning records.
Yeah, the only one lacking is the Commanders, and I think it's only a matter of time before a couple of the teams kind of fall back down to earth. You know, I think the Giants are hitting a little above their belt right now, and I think they'll come back down a little bit. They might have a winning record at 9-7. I do not see them being 10-6, 11-5. I see them being more of a 9-7, 8-8 sort of finish. And with that, we're going to move on to Week 7 preview. Thursday night football, we had the Cardinals and the Saints. That was a wild game. Andy Dalton gave up 2 pick sixes. 2 of them.
Back to back, too.
Back to back drives, right?
Yeah, and that helped Arizona to create a big lead.
Big lead early on, and just to keep it. I had a 3-leg parlay in that. The same game parlay. I had the Cardinals winning, check. Taysom Hill with a touchdown, check. Only one I didn't hit that kept me from big money was that Alvin Kamara did not score a touchdown. Man, I was close. I was just an Alvin Kamara touchdown away from over $100.
And usually Kamara scores 1 a game.
Right.
Usually.
Right. So I thought that was kind of easy money.
Yeah.
I did. I thought that was easy money. I was in the clear. And then, I think maybe the 2 pick sixes kind of soured.
I think Arizona taking a big lead off those pick sixes.
Right. Forced them to kind of go to through the air instead of on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. The 25-point second quarter by Arizona kind of put things out of reach, and if the Saints wanted to make a comeback, they would have to go through the air.
Right. So with that being said, we're going to move on to the rest of the slate of games. First of all, we got bye weeks for Buffalo, the Rams, Minnesota, and Philly. So Philly moves on to stay undefeated, I guess, via the bye. So we'll have to wait for next week for that drama to continue. So people who are playing, we've got the Packers at the Commanders. I bet on that game. I'll tell you a little more about that in the best bet segment. Colts at Titans. Stop me if anything stands out at you. Giants at Jags. Bucks at Panthers. I think we got to touch on that a little bit now that Christian McCaffrey has departed from the Panthers. It is now a 12. Last I saw it was 12.5 point Buccaneers favorite.
Yeah, and I think if the Buccaneers don't win that game, Tom Brady's going to go haywire because he already yelled after last week's game at his offensive line. But I don't think his offensive line did that bad of a job.
No, I honestly I think it's the whole offensive unit that's been underperforming, not just the line, not just Brady, but some of his wide receivers have dropped some pretty good passes, and the running backs haven't really contributed as much as they should have. So I think it's the entire offensive unit as a whole that's not performing well.
Yeah. So I think the Buccaneers need to win that in convincing fashion.
In order to kind of salvage somewhat of a season, moving forward and get some momentum back. Lions at Cowboys, Falcons at Bengals, Browns at Ravens. Those Falcons at Bengals and Browns at Ravens. I think the Browns at Ravens is pretty much. I think it's a snoozer game. The Falcons at the Bengals. Depends on which Joe Burrow shows up.
Yes, definitely. And the Falcons aren't, they're a sleeper team.
They're a sleeper team. They're a dark horse. They could come up with that game. I don't think that's a snoozer game. I think that's kind of one for your second screen. Maybe not your main screen, but it might be one for your second screen to look at.
Yeah.
So we got the Jets at Broncos. That'll be an interesting game just to see which teams show up. Again, kind of like the Falcons Bengals. It'll be a what teams show up. If it's the Jets from last week, I think they're beating the Broncos hands down. But if it's the Jets from history, I think the Broncos have a pretty good shot. And if Russell Wilson from history shows up, I think the Broncos win. But if the Russell Wilson from this point forward shows up, I think the Jets still have this game.
Yeah, I think the Jets will take this one just because what we've seen from the Broncos this season, Russ hasn't looked like his old self. The offense really hasn't been there. Neither has the defense, really. All they seem to get are field goals. And the Jets defense is good. They held the Packers to 10 points last week. I think the Jets will defeat the Broncos.
Right. I think so too. I have a feeling they will too. I'm kind of intrigued on that game. I just want to kind of see what'll happen there. Texans at Raiders. That's a snooze fest. I mean, they're both 1-4. 1-4, 1-5. It's just
I'd pass on that one.
Yeah. I think so too. Maybe if you're really interested, watch it on Gamecast, or pull up your phone, watch it on like Gamecast or whatever. But I don't think you need to tune in actually to that game.
I don't think you need to tune in at all unless you're a fan of the Raiders or Texans.
Yeah.
But I just keep a track of the score.
Right. Seahawks at Chargers. That could be a good game. I mean, the Seahawks have put up points.
Yeah, they're a surprising team with Geno Smith at QB. He's really come on. Yeah.
I think, honestly, this next game, I think, is the game of the week. The Chiefs at the 49ers. With the addition of McCaffrey to the 49ers, and then obviously Mahomes is kind of his own show. I think that's the best game on this schedule right now that we've talked about so far. I think looking at the other two, we got Sunday Night Football, Steelers at Dolphins.
I don't know. It might be better if Tua is good to go.
Right. If Tua is good to go, that might be a better game. And then Monday Night Football, Bears and Patriots. So going back, I think the Chiefs and the Niners is the best game on this schedule for this week.
Yeah. My two takeaways from this, obviously, like you, is the Chiefs and 49ers. That'll definitely be a good game to watch with Garoppolo and Mahomes, also McCaffrey and Debo catching passes from Garoppolo.
Yeah. But
the other one I had my eye on was the Colts and Titans in a division showdown.
Mm-hmm.
That might be intriguing since it's a divisional rivalry.
Yeah, that could be a good game. That really could. And now it's time for our best bet segment where I take my bets and I put them against my coworker, John Howren, and we see how we do week in and week out. Last week we had, I know I only hit one of my bets, which was the Eagles on the money line. So my bets from last week, just to run them down, I had Tampa Bay on the money line, didn't hit. Green Bay on the money line, big L there. Baltimore on the money line, another big L. But I did get the Philly on the money line. However, over on John's side, Vikings -3, winner. Tampa Bay on the money line, L. San Fran -5.5, that was a loss. Chargers on the money line, big winner. So he won last week. This week, John and I have pretty much the same games. The only difference being John has Tampa Bay on the money line, Green Bay -4.5, Chargers on the money line. I have Green Bay -4.5, Chargers on the money line. And instead of Tampa Bay, I have Dallas on the money line. And, you know, I don't like betting on the Cowboys, but I think they're going to absolutely beat the Lions. I mean, the Lions are a terrible 1-4 team. So I honestly think that Dallas will beat the Lions. I mean, and his bet's pretty safe too with the Buccaneers and the Panthers. So it might be a push this week with us two winning all of our bets, hopefully. You know, because we have the same bets except for he's got Tampa Bay on the money line and I've got Dallas on the money line.
Yeah, you guys might push. It's just be intriguing for me to see if the Cowboys stick with Cooper Rush or if they go back to Dak after their loss last week against Philly.
Yeah, that was honestly Cooper Rush. If he would have won that game last week, I think he would have secured his starting gig at least for another couple weeks. But now that he's lost, yeah, you're right. It's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen in Dallas. If Cooper Rush will still be the starter or if Dak Prescott, who is medically cleared this week, will take over. So we'll have to see on that. For my co-host Reese Webb, I am Devin Taylor. This has been Sportsball Roundup. You guys have yourselves a wonderful day.